Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney, partner of with my son, Kerry Meldon. We welcome you to a great show. This is really exciting. I've got one of my favorite folks to join us on the show today, John Denny, who is the founder and brewer at First Magnitude Brewing Company. And it's special because we're here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and First Magnitude is brewing the beer here at, or at least one of the beers, my favorite, the Head Beer Coach beer, 1966. And it's a great lager beer, and we're going to talk more with John Denny from First Magnitude about not only this beer, but all beers and how the process starts and why has Gainesville got so many great breweries. There's a lot going on. Anyhow, Gator Sports is rocking, man. The Gator baseball team swept the series last weekend from Mississippi. Ole Miss was ranked number 13th in the country. We're ranked number 2 or 3, depending on which poll you look at. What's amazing is in the SEC, 6 of the top 10 teams in the whole country are from, in baseball, are from the SEC. So I think the Gators, in some of the polls, were ranked number 3, but they weren't the best team in the SEC as far as the rankings. There may have even been 2 teams ahead of them in some of the polls. So it's crazy. But, you know, 1 through 10, the teams are, for the most part, SEC teams. And what does that mean? It means if you come to the ballpark in Gainesville to see any of the home games, you're going to see major league talent playing on the field. I get so excited about this, but it's true. The best experience in town right now is over at the ballpark, the Condren family ballpark. Just finished, $65 million facility. Great time, great watching great baseball teams. And if you kind of enjoy, baseball from its unique characteristics, it's usually kind of chilled out, slow compared to football and basketball. Very cerebral. You get really exciting moments when the bases are loaded and someone, gets a double or a home run and the bases are cleared. It's really kind of cool. And the Gators are averaging approximately 10 runs scored per game. So it's not boring. It's not a pitcher's duel 1-0. However, the Gators pitching, we've got 2 starters who are both going to be high draft picks in the major leagues, throwing 98 to 100 miles an hour when they're throwing their fastball. So check it out. We're having a really good time. Gator gymnastics team racing for a national title. They start this weekend. It's going to be on TV. I think ESPN may be covering it since it's a national tournament. And you're going to see the Lady Gators. Boy, they're in the elite category. So you can score 200 points total. And there's only 4 teams in the whole country that have scored more than 198 points. And the Gators have done it several times. And Trinity Thomas is, in my opinion, the best college gymnast in the whole country and will be a Olympic star. So you can see Trinity Thomas, but Leanne Wong and Kelly DeCasio, I think her name is a star. DeCello. Anyhow, she's doing amazing, and she's only a freshman. So for those of you that watch the Olympics gymnastics, we have Olympic quality gymnastics right here at home. There's no more home games, but you're going to be able to see the Gators compete on the national stage for the next 3 weeks or so. I think they do regionals, and then they get to what it is in essence the Final Four. So let's support our Lady Gators gymnastic team because, again, they are, I think they're currently ranked number 2 in the country. However, between Oklahoma, Michigan, and the Gators, it's a toss-up as to who's going to be the national champion in gymnastics, in my opinion. So anyhow, that's going on, and the Lady Gators softball team is rocking as well. They're another top 10 team, and they're really fun. The games are kind of short because they're 7-inning games, and the Gators are winning games by the 10 rule run. If you get ahead by more than 10 runs, I think in softball after the 5th inning's completed, you just shut the game down. And the Gators have been doing that several times this year and are fun to watch. So come and support what's going on. This is a different time of the year. We don't have football. We don't have basketball. However, the baseball and gymnastics is still cranking. And in fact, shout out to the Lady Gator basketball team, some of my favorite people. And they made a deep run in the NIT, had some really good performances. So they lost Monday night, but they won the first half. They just got blown out the second half. So that happens. But the recruiting is really strong. I'm following the Lady Gator basketball and the men's basketball teams, and they are recruiting at a high level. So we're going to see some improvement in both of those programs next year. And Gator football, we got the orange and blue game coming up Thursday night, April 13th. Mark that off on your calendar. And the reason is that it's going to be televised. And they moved it to Thursday night so they wouldn't compete with all the other teams. So it's on a Thursday night in the Swamp. They're going to be a big crowd showing up for that. So let's go and take a look at what Coach Napier is going to put on the field for us next fall. It's very exciting. So that's a little bit about what's going on in Gator sports. As far as the community goes, we got a bunch of really neat things coming up. There's the Wabash with Sister Hazel is coming up in May. So check out, I think it's 90.1 of the call signals for it, and Wabash 90.1. Just go online and put in Wabash, and you'll see they have ticket festivals. I think the ticket prices are only $50, if I'm not mistaken, to see Sister Hazel. Sister Hazel performed at the Performing Arts Theater a few weeks ago, and they were charging a lot more than $100 a ticket. So this is a chance to get up close, personal, see one of our favorite hometown bands, and they're going to have a whole lineup. It's on I think the second Saturday in May. And First Magnitude Beer is going to be doing the Friday night event. It's free, and it's going to be terrific. There's some amazing artists that are going to be showing up over at First Magnitude as well. So that's part of the what's going on in the music scene. I know Gainesville is really rocking. We had big festival out in Williston, and Meldon Law is sponsoring that as well as the Wabash Festival. We're really interested in being partners with the people in the community that are bringing you great entertainment, whether it's sports or music or anything else. If you have an organization and you would like Meldon Law's support, please give us a call. Just call the office, ask for marketing, and Josh Howard, our marketing director, will get on the phone with you and be glad to walk you through the steps necessary to get some information out to the public and see what we can do to help. World Equestrian Center and the Riley in Marion County are doing amazing things as well, and we're involved with Wind FM in supporting a lot of the events at the Riley, and also K Country we're very involved with. So give us a shout out to all of our friends, and let's support our local venues that are providing great information, great fun, and great time. There's just tons of stuff going on. We're here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and it is an amazing museum. You have to come out and see it. It's a lot of fun. It's great food. For example, they're the only restaurant in town that has the Head Beer Coach beer in 1966. And this is Jeffrey Meldon's favorite beer. And you can get it right here, but nowhere else. And of course, the reason is that the head beer coach is Steve Spurrier. And where else but Spurrier's Gridiron Grill could you find the head beer coach 1966 American Lager? Terrific. It's only got 4.6% alcohol. That's not too bad. It's not too low, not too high. When I was a youngster in Cleveland growing up, as soon as I got old enough to drink, or maybe it was a few years earlier, I don't know. Maybe I had a phony ID. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But we used to drink 3.2 beer, 3.2% beer, because it was legal when you were 18. And that was a big deal. So I have been a beer fan for a number of years and can firmly attest to the head beer coach American Lager 1966, which is the year Steve Spurrier won the Heisman Trophy. Anyhow, I've been ranting enough now. We're going to get to the meat of our program in just a few minutes. We're going to take a break, go to some commercials, and we'll be back on Meldon Law and Friends.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Cary allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go to. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there, and I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 2 herniated discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again!
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Somebody else hit us here!
Here we go again. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney, partner with my son Kerry Meldon at Meldon Law. And if any of you need help with any kind of a accident, please give us a call, 352-373-8000, or go online at meldonlaw.com. We've been in the community serving North Central Florida since 1971. We're very proud of that. And if you want somebody who is local, who you can come and talk to anytime, my son Kerry and I are at the office almost every day, and we're glad to meet with new clients, old clients, whatever your problem is. We value local service to the community, and we try to do that in many different ways. My guest today is John Denny from First Magnitude Brewing Company, and John, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, and speaking of giving back to the community, I know First Magnitude, that's one of your, main, credos is, being involved in the community.
Absolutely. We are very community oriented. We host all kinds of musical performances, artists. We do lots of fundraisers. Just recently, we had our Clean Creek Revival, which is a annual event where we partner with a group called Current Problems to clean up our local waterways, and we have taken tens of thousands of pounds of trash out of Gainesville creeks, and something that we're really proud of.
Yeah, I went on the First Magnitude website, and I saw all the amazing things that they've done. And as a matter of fact, I think one of your interests is having great clean water, because you use that to brew, right?
Yes, it all really comes down to the beer is mostly water. So without good clean water, we're stuck. So it's very important.
It's very true, because whether it's beer or coffee or whiskey or whatever the drink is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the foundation.
The foundation is always good water.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you start with bad water, you're probably not going to end up where you want to be.
Absolutely not. Yep.
So tell us a little bit of how you got involved with starting a brewery.
Right. So I started out brewing as a hobby. It was in 1992. I had just recently graduated from the University of Florida, and I had a friend of mine that said, hey, I'm going to take this leisure course at Santa Fe College on home brewing. And I was like, home brewing? He's like, yeah. I mean, you can make beer at home? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm on board. And so it started out just as a hobby, but I got progressively more into it. I didn't really dream that this would be my career. So I worked at several places. I worked in the medical field. I ended up getting an advanced degree in social work. I worked in the Shan system for quite some time. Then I transitioned, moved over to the University of Florida, where I worked for 13 years, and that was fantastic. And as I was at UF, I got back into home brewing, there was always that kind of itch that I was like, man, maybe I could make a go of this someday. And I have some wonderful business partners that were also interested in this, and we discussed this many a night over many a home brew. And we finally got to the point where we decided we would give this a shot. And that was back in 2012, and we actually opened our doors in 2014. So we're going to be 9 years in business this August, which we're really, really excited about. But it's been a terrific ride. We've been so welcomed by the Gainesville community, and it's just something it never escapes me just how fortunate I've been to be able to do something that I really enjoy doing and contribute to the community.
Well, you are contributing in a number of different ways, but I'll tell you, Gainesville, Florida during the summer when it's 94 degrees out and humid and you're sweating your butt off and everything else, a beer is an integral part of survival,
For sure. Beer is, a well-made beer is one of those great little celebrations, even if it's just to celebrate the end of mowing your lawn. It's a great thing, and we're happy to be able to produce it.
It's interesting. Before the show, I went online to look at the history of beer, and the Wikipedia article I was reading, was saying it goes back to 2,600 years as far as what they have, what the information they can confirm, but they suspect it goes back even further than that.
Sure. Yeah. Nobody knows for sure. A lot of people seem to think it was the Sumerian culture that could have been the first sort of brewers. But yeah, it's been the Egyptians certainly were into making beer, and it's been with us for a long, long time.
So what I read was that there was a lot of home brewing, and also a village or a community would have people that would specialize in brewing for the community.
Yeah, most definitely. You get that pub culture, particularly in the United Kingdom, in Germany, and breweries, pubs were very small, and they provided for the communities, their immediate communities. And that's a little bit of what we wanted to do when we started First Magnitude. Of course, our first and foremost priority was to make good liquid, as they say, but we also wanted it to be a gathering place. And we've had people get married there. We've had retirement parties there. We've had wakes there. We've had all kinds of celebrations of different milestones in life, and it's a lot of fun to be able to kind of witness that.
It's interesting that you talk about that, because really the pub was an important part of the community, for centuries and centuries. And it wasn't really until the 1800s where you had large commercial breweries come about. Now, when I've gone to Europe, I don't know, like, you'll go to, Carlsberg or Tuborg or Lowenbrau or whatever, and they'll say started in 1606 or something like that,
Yeah.
But the fact is, there were probably local breweries whenever they started, and they weren't like selling it all over Europe.
No, yeah, it was very, very community oriented, and they would just kind of serve their immediate neighbors there.
So what do you think was the origin of how people figured out that if you take some grains, barley or whatever, and you put some water with it, and then the next thing you know, somebody threw some yeast in or something like that by mistake?
Well, it probably happened with yeast are everywhere, just naturally occurring in nature. So I've read that the Sumerians possibly were storing bread outside in containers, got some rainwater in there, and just some of that natural yeast occurring. Somebody decided to drink it and said, hey, that kind of feels pretty good. So I think it kind of went from there. But yeah, the natural yeast that is just out there, I mean, of course, there's been a lot of evolution over these many hundreds and hundreds of years, and now we have specialized yeast that's selected specifically for the brewing process. But yeah, it probably happened by accident.
Well, it's kind of interesting. So here we have one of your beers. It's called the Head Beer Coach, 1966 American Lager. And of course, we're at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You can see all of Steve Spurrier's helmets back here. And we always encourage our listeners and viewers to come out here. It's really fun. And this is the only restaurant in town, right, that's selling the Head Beer Coach beer.
Yeah, it's pretty exclusive to here. You can find it in package at different places. You can certainly find it on campus.
Yeah, tell us about that, because every time I go to a basketball game or a baseball game or a gymnastics, they got the Head Beer Coach.
It was available for the first time this past season at the football stadium, so that was really, really exciting. The baseball team is doing incredibly well. Just swept Ole Miss this past weekend, and that's helping our sales. So that's
we got a big series against Auburn coming up this weekend.
Yep.
And if we got clear weather and a little heat, then the beer's going to fly off the shelf.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping for a regional or a super regional at the rate that they're playing. But I never thought that I would ever have the opportunity to meet Coach Spurrier, much less drink beer with him, and I got to do that, and that was incredibly fun, and what an honor. He came and toured the brewery, and he tried a bunch of our core beers, and we talked about what he liked and what he didn't like, and of course Coach loves to play golf and loves to be out in the outdoors and that kind of thing, so he wanted something that really light and refreshing, but he also wanted kind of a bold kind of a flavor to it, so I think we kind of walked the line there and brought them both with the 1966 lager.
So how did you make this beer, this lager? You start with barley or some other grain?
Yeah, so it all comes down to malted barley. That's kind of the basis of it, well, other than water, of course.
And where do you get your water from?
The city of Gainesville has very good water, and we of course filter that through a carbon filter to take any chlorine out of it, but it's really very good water for brewing. So we use city water, and the engineers over there at the water plant do really an amazing job and provide very good and consistent water for us.
Yeah, I know people don't realize we have a really good aquifer here. And if you dig down deep enough, you get some really high quality spring water.
Absolutely, and that is that is kind of the basis of where our water comes from, is the Florida aquifer for sure. And of course, I'm deviating a little bit from your question, but that's what our brewery is themed after, First Magnitude. That refers to the springs that we have here in Florida. And springs are classified in orders of magnitude, and the largest ones are First Magnitude springs. So we have 33 First Magnitude springs in the state of Florida, and that's more than anywhere else in the world.
How many are up here in North Florida? A lot.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I know Jenny Springs. And
Jenny, Itchintuckney, Blue Springs, Manatee Springs. Oh man, I should have studied a little bit more before I came.
But the bottom line is we have really good. We're up north, and the population is not as intense up here. The the aquifer is. Particularly in the last year or two or three, I know it was down for a while, but then it got healthier.
Yeah, it's been regenerating, but it is something that we all and that's another one of the reasons why we themed our brewery after the springs it is a precious resource that we need to be mindful of and we need to protect. So that was one of the reasons why we named it, to call attention to our water use, and since it is the foundation of our product. And First Magnitude also has a second meaning in that stars are classified in orders of magnitude. So the brightest stars that you see are First Magnitude stars.
Like the North Star, right?
Like the North Star. So our logo is, we call her Maggie. She's a mermaid. Of course, she represents the springs, and then she's looking through a telescope into the stars. So you get that double meaning of First Magnitude.
Oh, well, very good. So far, okay, we've started with very good water to make the Head Beer Coach 1966 American Lager, okay? And what's next?
So we take that barley and we put it through a mill and we crack the barley. We don't want to crush it, but we just kind of crack. Barley is a seed of the barley
Where do
plant.
we get the barley from?
So most of it comes from Minnesota, Shakopee, Minnesota. We do import some from Germany and some from the United Kingdom and a little bit from Belgium too, but the great majority of it comes from the Midwest here. And
The Great Plains.
The Great Plains, yes, exactly. The Great Plains make great barley. So we take that barley and we do something we call a mash, where we introduce hot water into that barley, the barley that the seeds have been cracked. And what that does, it opens up and exposes the starches that are within those seeds. And by doing the mashing process, we're converting those starches into sugars. And sugars are very important because that's going to be food for the yeast later on, and they're going to metabolize that sugar, and they're going to create alcohol, and they're going to create carbon dioxide. So the mashing process takes about 30 minutes. We circulate that water through that grain bed, and then we run it off into the kettle. We fill our kettle. We have a 15-barrel system at First Magnitude. A barrel of beer is 31 gallons. The large kegs that you may have seen at a college party or something like that, that's a half-barrel keg. Those are 15.5 gallons. And we have a 15-barrel system, so that's about 460 gallons of beer that we can make in one pass through our system.
So are you saying it goes through 15 large? What size are these barrels it's going through?
So our we have several different sizes of fermenters at First Magnitude. We have 60-barrel fermenters, we have 30-barrel fermenters, we have a 15, we have a 5, we have a couple 7s, and we have a bunch of 4-barrel fermenters as well. So that allows us to make very different kinds of variations on our products. So it gives us a lot of flexibility.
So when you're creating this particular beer, okay, did you want a particular barley because of the characteristics of that barley?
It's a blend of two-row barley, which is the most common. It's sort of a white bread or plain pasta of barley, and then we also use a Pilsner malt as well. It has a little more of a crackery character to it. So those are the two main types of barley that we use in Head Beer Coach. So as I said, we mash it, we fill up the kettle. Kettle's about 485 gallons. We boil, and at that point we call it wort. So before it is beer, it's a German word, W-O-R-T. It's called wort, and we're going to boil that wort, and we do it for several reasons. One, boiling sanitizes the beer for the wort for us. So if there's any bacteria or anything like that, the boiling process takes care of all that. We also boil it because we want to mix it, everything mixed up very, very well. And then also, that is at the point where we add hops. So hops are kind of the spice of beer, and they lend bitterness, and they lend aroma, and also flavor, too. And so if you were ever to have a beer that didn't have any hops in it, it would be kind of syrupy and cloyingly sweet. So the hops provide that bitter balance to the beer. And this is a very balanced beer. It's not particularly bitter, it's not particularly malty, not particularly sweet. It's just that nice balance, and that's what makes it really good and refreshing to drink.
So how did you pick out the hops that you wanted to create this beer with?
Well, we use Cascade hops, and they're from the Pacific Northwest. And they have a kind of a light citrus character to them. So again, that kind of provides that little bit of a kick, that little bit of extra boldness to this particular beer, as opposed to a standard American light lager that might, not have a whole lot of hop character to it. So that's again what Coach wanted, was something that would stand out.
So it's got a little more flavor than a Bud Light.
I would say so.
I mean, Bud Light's like what, the #1 selling beer in the United States?
It has been for many years.
Yeah.
And I'm second generation in the beer business. My mother worked for an Anheuser-Busch distributor for most of her career. So, so I'm AB products are near and dear to my heart. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, it is. Look, it's a very competitive field.
It is.
And I know what you're doing is, amazing, considering that you're a local startup company, and now tell us. Well, wait. Before I get to that, I just want to finish the making of
Sure.
the head beer. So now we've got the mash, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We've created our wort. We've boiled it for an hour. We've added our hops. And now, so everything that I just described is known as the hot side. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to the cold side. So once we've boiled the beer, added our hops, we're going to run it off into a whirlpool. And the whirlpool helps us to clarify the beer. So we put those hops in, and hops are a vegetal product. It's a flower. And we want to extract the acids and the oils in the hops, but we don't want any of that green stuff floating in the beer. So we put it in the whirlpool, and that helps us through centrifugal force to pile up what we call trub, which is a German word for waste, at the bottom of the whirlpool, and we can open up a dump valve and get that out of there, so we got nice clear beer. At this point, it's
like a centrifuge almost.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, similar concept to a centrifuge.
You're spinning it up, and so you don't put a little strainer in there and hope it catches.
No, we don't do that. So yeah, the whirlpool helps us to separate the solids that come out of the solution during the boiling process. So now we get all those out of there. So, but we still have very hot liquid. It's still been cast out from the kettle. It's still pretty close to boiling. So now what we have to do is chill it down. So we put it through a heat exchanger, and that heat exchanger is an amazing device, and it knocks it down. And in fact, we call it the knockout. That portion where we chill the beer, we knock it out. And this is a lager. Most of our ales like to ferment at 68 degrees, but this one we ferment at 55 degrees. So we pass it through our heat exchanger, and it goes from almost boiling down to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And then at that point, it's safe to what we call pitch the yeast. So we were talking about yeast occurs naturally everywhere in the environment. This is very specific lager yeast that's been selected over many generations to be specific to brewing beer. So we add that yeast in, and then it's added in as it's going into the fermenter. When you come to the brewery and see all those big tanks, that's what those are. Those are fermenters. And then the yeast go to work. And being a lager, it takes a good bit longer than an ale. Ales we turn out in about 2 weeks. This takes at least 4, ideally 5 or so weeks. So
what's the difference between a lager and an ale?
So yeah, there's 2 very large categories of beer, ales and lagers. And the difference is the type of yeast that's used. So ales, as I said, ferment at warmer temperatures, and they tend to have bigger, bolder flavors. Lagers are more subtle and clean and really bright and refreshing. Not to say that they're not flavorful, they are. But yeah, it's basically the type of yeast that you use. Lager is a German word that roughly means to store. So it's lagered over a longer period of time. And because they're fermented at colder temperatures, it takes a little while longer for the yeast to do their job.
So now we've got them fermenting in these big vats,
Yep.
the ones that are 12, 15 feet high or whatever.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
And so what's going on? And so for the ales, they're in there about 2 weeks.
Yep.
For the lagers, they're in there about 4 weeks
Yep.
or so. And
Correct.
then what happens?
So then we are checking, we're monitoring the process every day. So, and we are measuring the density of the beer, because when we start out, that wort is full of sugars, so it's very dense. The yeast get in there and they metabolize those sugars and turn it into alcohol, so it becomes less dense. So we use a device called a densitometer that measures the density of a liquid, and we can see that if the yeast are happy and healthy and doing their job, we can see that density falls. It becomes less dense over time because the yeast are replacing those sugars with alcohol. We're also checking the pH, or the acidity, of the wort, and the wort, during the fermentation process, it becomes more acidic. And then at the end, when we can see that the yeast have eaten all those sugars and done their job, that pH creeps up just a little bit. So that's another way that we know at the end that the beer is ready for packaging. And of course, we're also tasting it. And we know kind of roughly what the beer should be tasting like at each part of the fermentation
You're
process.
actually, the head brewer, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you taste, you're going around tasting to make sure things are consistent?
I do. One of the reasons we've been so successful at First Magnitude is our production manager is a food scientist that was trained at the University of Florida. His name's Eric Dreyer. Great guy, and he's been with us since day one. Master's and undergraduate degree in food science from UF. And then we also have 2 full-time people that work in our lab that are monitoring our products and making sure that they're as good as they can be.
Well, so how do you make sure that it's consistent? Is there equipment that measures it, or is it human tasting that measures the consistency?
It's a little bit of both, but obviously we want to get as much objective data as we can. So each of our beer has what we call a fermentation curve, so we can see where that line is going, and we keep all that data over time so we can compare a current fermentation to the many fermentations that we've had before, and so we have a good prediction of where the beer should be on any given day. So we're looking at that and making sure that we have a good consistent fermentation.
Right, because if I go and ask for, a beer from First Mag, I want to make sure it tastes the same every time, because, the head beer coach beer should taste almost identical whether I get it this month or 6 months from now, right?
Right, absolutely.
Because that's what you're doing is, so there's obviously a science to that.
Very much so. Yeah. So again, we're monitoring what we call microbiology that we do on the day it's brewed, day 1 of fermentation, day 5 of fermentation, when the beer is in the bright tank, which means it's getting ready to be packaged. We take samples of the beer and we put it in incubators. So in other words, we put it into an environment that if there's going to be bacteria or anything in there, wild yeast or anything that we don't want to be in there, we put it in an environment that it's going to grow up. And so we monitor those plates very, very closely, and if we see anything pop up, we know that, well, okay, maybe this batch, doesn't get packaged. And there's a saying, which is very true, that good breweries dump beer and bad breweries don't.
Okay.
So fortunately, we don't have to do that very often, but again, quality is so important, and it's something that we pay a lot of attention to, and we've invested quite a bit in.
Well, we're getting towards the end of the show. I want to cover some of the activities going on at First Mag. And for those of you that don't know, you can go out there and have great beers. I know I've ordered the tasting. During COVID, my wife Patricia and I were riding our bikes because we live in that general part of town, and we'd go down there to ride the Hawthorne Trail. And John had it set up so you could ride your bike or car through the brewery itself, right, and pick up a beer and take it home, and it was COVID safe because nobody was interacting with anybody, and it was just wonderful, kind of adaptation to the circumstances. But now that we're all in a healthy state, tell us what's going on.
Well, we have events going on all the time, and I certainly encourage anybody that's interested to go to fmbrewing.com to check us out. And of course, we have Facebook and Instagram as well. But we have a Celebrate Earth event coming up next month to celebrate Earth Day, where we're going to have live music all day, and of course a special beer release. It's called Once Bitten Twice Chai, which is an amber ale that is brewed with chai tea spices, which is a fan favorite. And then later on after that, we're going to be doing FM Plays the Hits, and we're going to be bringing back some of the beers that we did on opening day. We're going to have a cover band that will be playing all day, so working off that plays the hits kind of a thing. And also something that that we were discussing prior to getting started today, we're going to be helping out to celebrate the Wombat radio station and hosting the first night of the Wombash, and we're really excited.
We're excited. Meldon Law is going to be sponsoring the Wombash as well, and it's going to be a terrific event. Sister Hazel's going to be performing Saturday night, and for $50, I mean, where else can you see an incredible lineup? And actually, there's a lot of other great acts that are coming on the Wombash. So
I am extremely excited to see Sister Hazel. But I am very excited to see what it is. Which was a R&B kind of funk band from the 90s, and man, I am so excited.
There's a guy that's playing Friday night. I think that he was in What It Is.
Avi, yeah. He'll be at First Magnitude, so that's going to be very, very exciting.
Avi Bortnick.
Yes, that's right.
And so Avi's, Avi's. So anyhow, I haven't seen Avi play, but I'm really excited to see him play.
Amazing guitar player. Yeah,
amazing. So I'm here with John Denny, the founder of First Magnitude. We're getting ready to wrap up the show. However, what I want to tell you from my own personal experience, I'm a big fan of First Magnitude. You go down there, there's plenty of parking, and you can just walk in. They have really neat beer tasting. If you want to, taste 4, 5, or 6 beers, they'll line them up in small glasses, and you can taste them and find the ones you like. You can see, whether, you want the lager or the ale, which ones you prefer, because everybody has a different palate, and they do an incredible job. I'm very proud that you could join us here in Meldon Law. We've been a big supporter of the Tom Petty festivals and the Heartwood, everything going on in Heartwood. I don't know if you knew this, but I was Tom Petty's first attorney. And I worked with, Mudcrutch and all of that. So we've been around the Gainesville community and the music scene a long time, and I know you're a big fan of the music scene, and that's part of drinking beer, right?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Goes together, goes hand in hand.
Get together, listen to some good music, have a good time, and they have the best beer garden there. It's so much fun. You just hang out, and there's tables set up, picnic tables and other tables. You can bring chairs if you want when there's performances.
Yep.
And it's a big enough area so everybody's really comfortable.
Yeah. It really is. We have back towards the back part of the beer garden, we have a kid zone, family zone. There's folks that like to bring, toddlers and stuff like that, and it's a nice kind of enclosed area that parents can hang out and have a beer together and watch their kids rip around, and
the food trucks.
And the food trucks, yeah, we have food trucks on a daily basis, and we've just got some great partners, and we really love the opportunity to work with those
that
folks.
was smart, bringing in the food trucks, because you want to focus in on great beer.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to do what we do well, and let them do what they do very well.
So anyhow, First Magnitude, it's off South Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
It's right, if you know where Depot Park is, it's just south of Depot Park. It's easy to find. Just go on South Main Street, where the Cade Museum is. Just follow your nose south, and you'll find it. It's where the bus terminals are. Yep. And it's a really wonderful atmosphere. And for those of you that like riding or hiking on the Hawthorne Trail, it's right there. All you have to do is take a right or a left, depending on which way you're headed, and you're there at the brewery. You can stop off, have a beer, and then continue on your way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So anyhow, John, we're going to have to close the show, but we loved having you on. I guess I feel like we just got started, and we're going to, have you back again sometime.
I would love
that. I really want to thank you for everything that you do for the community, and thank you again for joining us on Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back later.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.